The war on drugs is taking on a different tone in California these days. There's a campaign to convince people that the recreational use of marijuana should be legal. Currently, it's okay to smoke pot for medicinal use. The CBC's Keith Bogue now on the controversy.
Kush is marijuana, and yes, marijuana is still an illegal drug in the United States, even though you wouldn't know it here at Los Angeles' Venice Beach.
Have a talk with the doctor.
California legalized marijuana for personal medicinal purposes in 1996. What that's led to here is open competition among retailers to lure passers-by into a doctor's office for a marijuana referral, something you can get simply by complaining of stress or a bad night's sleep. Then it's on to the Kush store to begin ringing up the drug sales.
Right inside.
Now Californians are being asked through a referendum whether they want to go all the way and legalize marijuana so that it can be sold and taxed in the way that alcohol is sold and taxed across most of North America. And they may just go for it. Or they may say they like things just how they are. Although it's not entirely clear just how things are with marijuana in California right now.
Sure, stroll down the Venice boardwalk, you'd swear pot is already legal. The marketing and selling goes on in full view of the LAPD, even though everyone knows the doctor's referral bit is only a fig leaf. But a few blocks away, federal drug enforcement officers recently raided a medical marijuana shop and arrested its owner, Jeff Joseph, who was running a relatively low-key medical marijuana business.
But your place, when it was operating, was nothing like the places in Venice Beach.
Nothing.
Where they have the signs outside.
Nothing.
Telling people
low-key. We're very discreet. Very discreet. We just had a lot of medicine. We had all the different strains of medicine for the different ailments.
Why Jeff Joseph and not the more flagrant operators on Venice Beach? Los Angeles District Attorney Steve Cooley says there's no double standard.
Why him, not them?
Well, maybe them. Maybe they're next. We are trying to target, law enforcement is trying to target the worst offenders, the most egregious offenders, those who are probably dealing in other forms of cannabis.
Cooley says what's happened across California is a gross and dangerous misunderstanding of Proposition 215, the proposition that legalized medicinal marijuana. Prop 215 did not make marijuana a legitimate for-profit business opportunity, despite the fact there are now hundreds of pot shops operating in California.
The courts have ruled it's illegal. Illegal. We've gotten clear definition from our Supreme Court, from local courts, and those individuals who are engaged in this business thinking, hey, it's okay, that's under Prop 215, they're making a huge mistake. They're making a mistake with their freedom, and the people they employ, they're making a mistake with their freedom.
Law is one thing, reality is another. The reality is that marijuana has already moved from the underground into the public space of California. Nothing says that better than Oaksterdam University, with campuses in Oakland, Los Angeles, and Sebastopol, California.
Every city is struggling with regulating this.
Oaksterdam is a cannabis trade school. Clever locals claim it's been putting the high back in higher education since 2007. The school is the creation of Richard Lee, a marijuana user and activist for some 20 years.
So we start off with the politics, and then we move on to cannabis horticulture, learning how to grow it, cooking. So you learn how to cook with it, hash making, and bud tending. Management, starting a business. You know, we try to cover all the things people need to know to get into the cannabis industry.
Students here anticipate marijuana will grow into a thriving sector of the legitimate economy. Derek is planning a delivery business.
You're delivering pot, but also paraphernalia, whatever else they might need.
Correct. Any type of edibles or teas or anything like that.
Tina is learning to bake with cannabis and might seek a business partner.
I want to be in with someone else or work for someone else, you know, and so I'm interested in that. But I'm definitely interested in growing my own. Definitely.
Oaksterdam has graduated thousands of students with diplomas in pot.
This is like every class since the school was founded.
Most of them, you know, I haven't gone back and counted, but this is quite a few of them.
Dale Clare is the chancellor of Oaksterdam, but also the spokesperson for the campaign to legalize, regulate, and tax cannabis.
The overall concern of most folks in California is, what is this going to look like? And anytime you don't know, it creates fear.
If it's going to look like Venice Beach, legalization is probably not going to appeal to mainstream California.
Moms, parents, I think if they look at Venice Beach, they're going to think, well, that's the last thing we need more of.
When it comes to mothers, the primary responsibility here is to explain that this is about control. The free-for-all is right now, and their kids can already get it way too easily. If we put it in the hands of a seller that will lose their license if they offer it to children, the children are less likely to get it. And quite frankly, if we educate honestly, they're less likely to want it.
Americans are very familiar with pot. Studies show Americans are twice as likely as the Dutch to have tried marijuana, even though the Dutch legalized it years ago. That familiarity extends even to those in the campaign against legalizing it here.
How about yourself? In your past, ever smoked pot?
Yes, and I'll tell you a story. I was in law school at the time, and a friend of mine had left some pot at my apartment.
John Lovell is a Sacramento lobbyist and spokesman for the campaign against legalization. His personal experience with pot was disappointing.
Every stress that was going on in my life was magnified. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is no fun at all.
But he thinks the campaign will be a breeze once people learn more about the initiative to legalize it. For instance,
do you really think it's a good idea to be driving on a highway where the driver can't be smoking? That's a good thing about the initiative. But everybody else in the car can be? I mean, can we spell contact high? I don't think voters are going to be comfortable with those kinds of concepts.
He says legalizing marijuana would make it impossible for California businesses to comply with the federal Drug-Free Workplace Act.
That act is a condition precedent for many federal contracts. If you and I both have bicycle shops, yours is in New Jersey and mine is in California, and we want to build bicycles for the Army, you can comply with the Federal Drug-Free Workplace Act. I can't.
The argument from the other side is that only when pot is legal can it be controlled and regulated. It's when it's illegal that anything goes.
When you prohibit something, you lose control. When you prohibit, you lose the ability to say when, how much, who, and how old.
That's why cops support Tax Cannabis 2010.
The campaign is just getting underway, but between now and the November vote, it's going to attract attention right across the continent. Keith Oak, CBC News, Los Angeles.
Here in Canada, possessing and smoking marijuana is technically against the law, but the use of medical marijuana is not. As of June 2009, just over 4,000 people were authorized to purchase marijuana for medical use. To get it legally, they must go through Health Canada. It gets the marijuana from a secure underground facility in Manitoba. But if you have authorization to purchase medical marijuana, you can apply to grow it yourself.